Hi guys, welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Vomika Zilupindo. I am a clinical psychologist by profession and I am completing my community service at the Department of Correctional Services. So I've been getting quite a lot of questions about master's applications, which are currently going on right now. And this video hopes to actually address those questions, and I hope it gives some clarity with regards to how to go about the process. So the first thing that I want to speak about is in terms of deciding which psychology specialization you would like to follow. A lot of people have been speaking about how they don't know whether to take clinical or counseling psychology or to apply for neuropsychology, or even if they should apply at all, because they've heard that it's quite difficult to get into masters and chances are they will not get in. So first thing is that you actually need to decide. So what do I want? Where do I see myself? What do I see myself doing? What interests me? If I think about being a psychologist and the kind of work that I want to do, what kind of work do I want to do? Do I want to work with kids? Do I want to do therapy? Do I want to do assessments? Do I want to work in schools? Do I want to work more in a psychiatric hospital? What do you want to do? And let that be the thing that guides you in terms of deciding which one of the specializations you are going to pick. Because to be honest with you guys, personally, I feel like there's no psychology program that's easier to get into compared to the other. I know a lot of people will always say, no, it's going to be hard to get into clinical psychology, don't apply for that. And honestly, I listened to them. And it's something that also deterred me from applying for clinical psychology. And the only reason why I ended up being a clinical psychologist is because the university I was really eager to go to only offered clinical psychology. And that's the only clinical psychology program I applied for. So the first thing is just assess yourself. Know and understand what you want to do, why you want to do it, and then decide where you want to do it. A simple example of this is that I was more interested in learning and understanding things that have to do with children. I felt it was quite important for me to understand or at least have some experience with working with children, because I feel like that's quite informative in terms of the kind of adult you develop into and some of the difficulties you might then present with in adulthood. So for me, UCT Child Guidance Clinic was definitely somewhere I was eager to go, because they work with, they see quite a lot of kids and they work with quite a lot of families and children. The second thing is, so now that I know what I want to do and I know where I want to do it, I need to start looking at, okay, so when do applications open? When do applications close? Some applications open sooner than others, and they also close sooner than others, whereas others, they close later on. So generally, applications will close around the last week of May. You do get some institutions that push it on until like mid-June, and other times until the end of June. But generally, like May is definitely the month where you know applications are closing. So by now, I hope that you've started the process and you already know when you need to have everything in. So plan ahead, know what you need to gather, know what documents you need to submit, and then make sure that they're ready and available for when the applications close. And also I'd suggest like submitting earlier on. So I know for most universities, they'd say you'd have to fill out like a general university application form and then fill out specifically a department form for psychology and masters in psychology that goes directly to wherever it is that you will be training in that department. So knowing whether you need to post those forms and making sure that they get there on time, and not leaving everything to last minute, including your references, because those kind of things do take time, and follow up on them to find out whether or not they've submitted. So I'm actually going to go through an application form just for us to kind of see the kind of questions that they ask and help you guys think around how you can go about answering those questions. So I have the WITS application open in front of me. So with WITS, their closing date was on the 4th of May. And so they've already closed, but I think this is quite a comprehensive form, and it might help us with what we're trying to understand. So first part is just about your personal details, and then your academic record, and also guys, like, I cannot stress this enough, that you need to make sure that you meet the average that they're looking for, because that is something that's quite important. So here it says that you need an average of 65% for you to be considered, and you need to make sure that your honors must have been completed in the last 10 years. So anything older than that, you already know that it's going to be problematic. First part is relevant experience. So what is your present employment? So here you just speak about literally what you're currently doing right now. So are you studying, or are you at work? Then specify what professional or clinical related experience you have. So I think a lot of people struggle with this one, because you look at it and you think, actually, I haven't done anything that is linked to psychology. So if you've worked with people, you have experience, because that's what we do as psychologists. We work with people, and we want to know every single thing that you have done to work with people, what it was like for you to work with those people, and what did you learn from that experience. So with me, I had no experience in terms of counseling or working in organizations where they do clinical work, but I did quite a lot of volunteering work. Literally mention every single kind of work that you have done that you feel would be relevant in this kind of profession. So for example, I volunteered at an old age home when I was in high school. We interacted with them. So interacting with people is part of what we do as clinical psychologists. So that is a form of work experience. I've also worked at a children's home. I volunteered at a children's home. I volunteered at a baby's home. Those are things that you speak about. So what did you do there? And if you think about the profession of psychology, what did that experience teach you in terms of the kind of work that we do? And literally, the more that you state, the more that we see that you have quite a lot of experience. You've worked with people from different backgrounds, different age groups, and this gives us a sense that actually this person might be good for this profession because they have the experience, they have the exposure. And then the next question, it says, experiences with psychology and psychiatry. Have you ever gone to see a psychologist? And then it asks you to provide experience with regards to you receiving mental health services, be it seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So in this section, they basically trying to get a sense of, do you actually know what you will do as a psychologist? Do you actually know what it's like to be through the process? And will that experience help you understand what exactly you are coming into? So have you ever been to therapy? And guys, if you haven't been to therapy, then do yourselves a favor. There's student counseling at university. You can go contact like centers that provide virtual services if you're not based on campus. You can literally any kind of exposure that you can get to seeing a therapist, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're struggling, you have a problem. They want to see, do you understand the kind of work that we do? And they also want to understand whether you understand the process of what happens in therapy. So how much does this person know about the field? And also, what are some of the challenges or what are some of the experiences that you have had in terms of your mental health? And this is not to say that if you've had mental health difficulties or you've been in a psychiatric hospital, then you're not going to be able to be a psychologist. So those kind of experiences can actually help you better connect with the people that you eventually end up seeing, because you understand what it's like to be in that position. The next section, interest in clinical psychology and personal statement. So what has led you to want to study clinical psychology? How do you understand your strengths and weaknesses as a potential clinical psychologist? So this is quite different from an autobiography, because they're not asking you like, tell us your life story. They're asking you, why are you interested in psychology? And a lot of people will generally say, I want to help people, and that's good and all. Like, we all want to help, but what is it that is drawing you to the profession beyond that? Because wanting to help on its own doesn't say much about what interests you in the profession. So it might be that you have personally went through experiences of having to deal with your mental health problems, or mental health problems that your family member had, or it just comes from a genuine curiosity about wanting to know and understand people. So those are the kind of things that you speak about here. And what are some of the strengths that you have that might help you in that sense? So for example, for me personally, I've always been quite inquisitive. And I've always been curious about, like, why does this happen? Why did I react this way in that specific situation? Why am I like this and not like that? And that curiosity made me then want to know and understand, and then it extended beyond me to other people as well. So why are these people acting this way? Why are they doing this and that? And that kind of curiosity is something that's quite important in the field. They want to understand, do you understand what the profession is about? What is it that draws you to the profession? And what is it about the kind of person you are that would make you, or that would be like a strength in terms of the kind of professional you are within the field? And also in terms of your weaknesses, or your blind spots, or your areas for further development. What is it that might potentially be a challenge when you are in the field? And they just want to see how reflective you are, how much you understand of yourself, how much you understand of the field. And this is where you get to speak about that. And then your autobiography. So the difference between interest and autobiography: interest is about the field. So how much do you know about the field, and what is it that draws you to the field? Autobiography is about you. So who are you? Where do you come from? How did you get to the place you are at today? What is it that has led you to becoming this person that you are? And think about that in the context of clinical psychology or counseling psychology or educational psychology. So how have your life experiences molded you into the person that you are today? And how do these things now make you a suitable candidate for what you're applying for? And the thing about your autobiography is that whatever you share are things they're going to ask you in the interview. So if you feel like there's certain things that you haven't resolved and you find it difficult to speak about, then you might want to consider whether or not you want to share those parts of yourself. And the thing is, they don't want to know like everything, like every single detail that's happened in your life. They just want to know, so who is this person? Who is Ubomigazi? Where does Ubomigazi come from? What experiences has she had? How are these experiences something that can help her within the field? Is she someone that's relatable? Is she someone that's been exposed to different kinds of people? Is she someone that is resilient? Does she show that she's been like through these difficult experiences, and yet somehow she's been able to use those experiences to understand herself. She's been able to use those experiences to get herself to a position where she feels like she can use the experiences to help other people. So speak about yourself. And it's, how can I put this? I think my biggest problem with the autobiography is that people want to make themselves like look shiny, or like, look at me, like I'm this amazing person, or look at me, like I went through so much, and like I don't know, like just try not to be extra. Just be yourself, be authentic. When you read that, it must be a reflection of you. I remember when I went to my master's interviews, one of the questions, and it was the first interview that I went to, they looked at me and they were like, what were you thinking when you wrote this autobiography? And I was shocked. I thought maybe like there's something that I wrote that threw them off, but, and then I was just like, I wrote who I am, and I tried to describe it, or I tried to write it in a way that would help you see who I am before I even walked in the room, and understand who I am before I even walk into the room. And I didn't want to sugarcoat it, neither did I want to make it glamorous. And they were just like, you know what, when I read that autobiography, I was honestly so moved, and I was able to understand and put myself in the positions that you were in. And that gave me a sense of who you are. And that's exactly what that autobiography should be. When I read it, I must be able to connect with it. So think about yourself. Who are you? Where do you come from? How did you end up where you are today? And what have you made, like what sense have you made of those experiences? How have those experiences impacted you? And now that you're thinking about that, how would that make you someone that's able to be a psychologist? How do these experiences link to the profession and what you want to do? And I think I'm so passionate about the autobiography because that's who you are. That's what makes you you. There's a certain level of vulnerability that you need to have when you're speaking about that, because that is your truth. It's yours. And if you don't speak about it in a way that best represents you, that lets us know who you are, it makes it difficult for us to connect with you. And then next section is sample of writing. So when you go into psychology, the program is a dissertation, but also coursework and clinical work. So usually like 50% is the dissertation, and then the other 50% is clinical work and coursework. So they just want to see, is this person able to write academically? So can you write an academic paper? So they can either ask you, like, give us, write us like something that speaks about a specific topic, write us something that's linked to a specific thing that you're interested in, a piece of research. And other times they ask you like for a research topic that you are interested in, and the best thing to do is usually like write an extension of your honors. And the thing is, whatever concept paper you submit, it doesn't mean that your dissertation will have to be on that topic. They just want to see, are you able to reference? Are you able to write something that is logical? Are you able to write in a very concise and clear manner? Are you able to punctuate? Are you able to write paragraphs that make sense? Are you able to organize your work in whatever way in which you're writing in? That's what the concept paper is about. And then after that, you have references. So these are the people who basically have to write reports about you. So who is Vumigazi? What kind of person is she? And what I'd suggest in this section is that usually they'd say that you need to submit 3 reports. 2 of them need to be people who are in the field of psychology, and then the other one can be like any other person, be it like a religious leader, anyone else that you've worked with, a mentor, and those kind of stuff. So the reason why they say that, and at times, even though they don't specify, I would personally suggest that you speak to your lecturers to be your referees, and not just any lecturer, someone that actually knows you and has worked closely with you and has a sense of who you are. And even if like you're not someone that's always like been involved with lecturers, pick the smallest class that you have. So what's the smallest lecture group that you have? For me, it was neuropsychology. So my neuropsychology lecturer was definitely someone that I approached. And the reason why I say that, think about your lecturers, is because those people have an understanding of how you are, like academically, but they're also psychologists. So they're able to know and understand things about you. They're able to see and connect with you in different ways. And they're able to reflect on the kind of person that you are and think about you like from that kind of perspective. And as someone that is coming into that field, if I can say something about you as a psychologist, and you are coming into the field, and I know that psychologists think in this way, psychologists see people in this way, they understand them in this way, then that gives me more confidence in terms of the report that you've submitted, and that it best represents the person and it's really reflective of the kind of person they are. And even if it's not your psychology lecturer, like pick professionals. Don't ask like your aunt or someone else. And even like spiritual leaders, they often accept those kind of references. But if it's 3 references, make sure that 2 of them are at least some sort of professionals, and preferably people that are already in the field. It could be a lecturer, it could be someone that you shadowed, it could be your mentor that's in the field. And those things are actually quite important because yes, you've told us who you are. You've put yourself out there and you have told us about this is the person I am. That referee basically corroborates the information you have provided. Is this person really who they say they are? And I am saying, I am a witness to that, and yes, this person is like this. And there are certain parts of themselves that they may not be aware of, but this is what I've also seen in them. So that is actually quite important. And then the last one is the application checklist. This might seem like the smallest thing in the application, but it's actually probably one of the most important things in the application, because if you leave something out, your application may not even be considered. Some universities are kind enough to contact you, especially if you submit before the closing date and they receive your application. They might contact you and say this and this is missing. So just make sure you have done everything and you have submitted everything. Check it 3 times. Ask someone else to check it for you as well, just to make sure that you have all the necessary documents in there. So that is the end of the actual application. And also just check where you need to submit it. Do I just submit online, or do I also need to post it? Those kind of details are very important. Now I'm just going to get into some of the other questions that I received that I might not have addressed so far. So some of the other questions that I got, first one is, what are the chances of getting into the master's program? Honestly, I find this as being quite a difficult question because I don't know. There's no 50-50 chance, or there's no 50-30 chance. I guess your chances of getting in are based on the amount of universities that you applied to, because the more universities you apply to, the more likely you are to get in. But with that being said, guys, and even if you don't get in, like, it's not a train smash. You just need to understand, like, if they send you a letter, like if they say you've gone to the interviews and all was great, but you didn't get in, like, follow up. Like, how come I didn't get in? Like, what are some of the reasons why I didn't get in? What do I need to improve? What do I need to work on? Sometimes it's just that yeah, no, we feel like you don't have the work experience, and the next year, you're focusing literally on that. Like, you're trying to gain as much experience as you can so that when you come in the next year, you actually do a lot better. So yeah, chances of you getting in are, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Do your honors results play a big role in the selection process? Your honors result is basically like a key. And why do I say that? So if you meet the requirements for your honors, so they're telling you in that application, we only want people who have 60% and above. So you're showing up for the audition. They basically letting you into the door and saying, okay, you qualify based on this mark that you got, but we also need to look at the other information. So yeah, your honors marks are important, but it's only to get you into the door. And then the rest of your application is, okay, so now that you have gotten into this door, what do you have to offer? Tell us more. What can we invite you for the interview? So it's kind of like when you're applying for a job and they say they're looking for a doctor, and they're looking for this and this and this kind of doctor without an MBCHB, then you're not gonna, yeah. So honors marks are important, but only to get you into the door. You just need to, literally, the bare minimum, 65%, that is all they want. For the interview, what kind of questions can we expect? First of all, I would suggest focus on your master's application. Like, people are stressing about interviews. How do I prepare for interviews? But how can you prepare for interviews if you haven't even written an application that is strong enough to get you that interview? So focus on what's in front of you right now, which is the master's applications. And interviews are usually like around July, August, and then it's only then you can start stressing about interviews. But they ask all sorts of questions, and I will consider making a video or an updated video of master's interviews, because I made one like 2 years ago. Our interview is conducted by a panel or by one, or is it one-on-one? Again, worry about the interviews when you get to the interviews, but it's different. So I know at Rhodes, we first had like one-on-one sessions with like 3 different people, and then we had the panel interviews. UCTs, it was just the panel interviews. UKZN, I think, was also just a panel. So it can be either a combination of those things. Generally, it's a panel of people. So another question that I got, can you share how you wrote your essay about yourself? So yeah, I tried to look for it. It would have been nice to read it to you guys. But how I wrote my essay, this is what I remember from it, or my autobiography rather. And I remember it because, yeah, that's who I am. That's who I was at the time. That my name is Bomika Zilupindo. I am originally from a small town in the Eastern Cape called Matatiele. I am the last born of 3, and I was raised by a single woman, and we had 2 adopted sisters. I spoke about some of the experiences that I had during childhood. I got separated from my mom at quite a young age, and I lived with my sister during that time. And I wrote about the kind of experiences that we had. It wasn't an easy time, and it's something that's affected both of us quite significantly. And so I wrote about that experience, what it was like for me at the time, and how now that I reflect on it, like, this is what I feel that experience has done, and the impact it's had. So I spoke about that, and then I spoke about my experience growing up with 2 adopted sisters, both of whom they had quite a lot of challenges. So, and just what that experience was like for me, what I learned from that experience. And it's through my two adopted sisters that I got my first experience of a psychologist, because we went there. And that was just a life-changing experience for me, like seeing the kind of impact psychologists were able to do with her. And yeah, that's where my interest started and where my curiosity, like it just blew my mind. Like, we struggled with this for so long, and you were able to engage with this person, and you were able to, like, yeah, that's exactly what I said. So that experience, that's when I knew that I want to do this. I want to understand myself. I want to understand how things like that happen. How do you understand people in that way? How do you help people in that way? So, and then I spoke about, based on those experiences, this is why I want to be a psychologist. This is what I feel. This is where I feel I may be able to help. This is what I feel enables me to be able to help. But I'm also very conscious that this is what I still struggle with. The other question says, what do they mean when they say state your personality experience? I'm not sure if I understand that question. I'm assuming it's personal experience, but that would be more your autobiography. And I think another thing that I didn't mention, like, speak about where you're from. Like, literally, part of my autobiography, I spoke about the fact that I come from a small town. I moved from a small town and lived in the city. Moved from the city and I went to a completely different country. Moved from that country, came back to South Africa. And the kind of experiences that I had, the challenges that I had in those kind of contexts, and what I learned from them. And I think one of the strengths that I had, well, it's not even, I know one of the strengths that I had was that I had no work experience, but I had so much life experience, and that made up for quite a lot. And that made a huge difference. So the fact that I've interacted and I've been able to live with people from all walks of life, that allowed me to be more relatable to different kinds of people. So that's the kind of personal experience I have. And also, like, engaging with people with different kinds of personalities, different kinds of cultures, different kinds of experiences. So those kind of things are really beneficial. I really hope that you find this video helpful. And again, this is a very anxiety-provoking time, and I understand what you guys are going through. I went through it myself. We all did, and that's something that you need to understand, because we have all went through the experience. When we look at that application, we do know that it's quite stressful for you guys to go through the process. Well, I've never been on a panel before, but I can imagine that they do take that into consideration. And just do your best to best represent yourself. Like, don't sell yourself short, but also don't try to or don't try to, like, overcompensate for certain things that you might lack in. Just do your best to give a reflection of who you are, your experiences, and what might help you, or what might make you someone that's an asset to the profession. I really hope that this video has been helpful for you guys. Please do comment below and just let me know if there's anything else that I can still assist with that isn't clear. And if you found this video to be helpful, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you guys next time. Thank you.